Welcome to the new show, folks. It's a whole new show, whole new bumpers. Producer Courtney has been in the studio, on the mic, putting in work.
She had some zen to her voice.
She did. Full price, Courtney was in the zone. It's the best work you've ever done. So proud of you. So happy. Hey, folks, you are listening to DFW Real Estate Weekly with Todd Tremonti, but I don't do it alone. We've got the English wonder, the Yanni Donnie. We do have full price Courtney, and from time to time, a smattering of other guests and friends. So be aware, stay tuned. If you're thinking about buying or selling a house or anything related right now, just go to toddtremontiteam.com. If you have a question on the tip of your tongue at this very moment, you can call or text 214-310-0008. That's 214-310-0008, and we'll get it answered for you right now as we make our way through the show. There's a lot to talk about right now, lots of headlines relevant to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, lots of Frisco talk, as there seemingly always is, and of course the conversation around buying and selling homes this year. There's some other opinions in the media on forecasting for this year. We'll dive into all of that, but what's valuable to us is what's valuable to you. So if you have a question or a comment, or you need to make a call on buying, selling, remodeling, protecting your property value, anything of the like, it's 214-310-0008. You should have that saved in your phone for calling or texting. Any real estate needs whatsoever, we're here to help. 214-310-0008.
First segment, as always, brought to you by Patrick Gleros and his team at Cardinal Financial. You can go to patrickgleros.com. You can start an application on his website if you're looking to refinance, if you're looking to get a mortgage, maybe you're looking to get a second property, an investment property. Go to patrickgleros.com. You can start everything that you need to do right there. You can call them as well, 972-728-3420, NMLS number 308804. What a week, huh?
What a week. Lots going on in the world of sports.
Super Bowl.
Lots going on in the world of real estates.
Mardi Gras.
Hey, Full Price Courtney had the whole team over for Jambalaya or Jambalaya? Jambalaya is how she says it. The rest of us said jambalaya, got it all wrong. And we had the best king cake I've ever had in my life. It was spectacular.
It was excellent.
Yep, it was. We had a great time, and we got to celebrate a lot of things happening on the Todd Tremonti home selling team. We won't take a ton of time on it, but we celebrated team members and a lot of anniversaries. We had some folks that have been with us 9 years, several people at the 8-year mark.
Hello.
We celebrated a 6. And then we had a couple of 1s. So that's not normal in real estate, folks. It's not normal for people to stick around and make a career of it. A lot of people are jumping broker to broker. Not everybody, but statistical averages, I think, less than 2 years together. So
I was 8 years. Courtney was 1.
That's right. Super excited about both of you guys. And we're excited that we have that critical mass on the team to add value for our clients and our friends in the DFW area. If you're thinking about buying, selling, moving, maybe you have a friend or a neighbor and you don't want them taken advantage of, or just underserved by somebody who's not a full-time professional, or just someone that doesn't have the resources that you would want your friends, family, and neighbors to have, send them our way, toddtremontiteam.com. I think on the sell side, we have a small waiting list at the time, and we have some availability on the buy side, I think, right away. 214-310-0008 or online at
toddtremontiteam.com.
All right, so we are coming off the Super Bowl, and Super Bowl commercials are something that we all generally look at and wait for, and I don't think they're quite as special as they once were.
Yeah, I thought there was like 1 or 2 above the bar, like that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And
a lot of times they get released early now, too, so that's the other thing. Yeah. So that makes it a little bit different. But Homes.com had not 1, not 2, not 3.
Oh, okay, LeBron.
But 4 Super Bowl commercials.
They did.
And they've been saying for a long time, hey, that we want to be number 1. We want to be the leading people in the market. So not to give a ton of airtime to them, but like break down, like what's the difference in all these search portals? Like there's so many that people can choose from.
Couple things to say here. By the way, the parent company that owns them is trying to enter the game and really take over from the Zillow and the Realtor.com. Typically kind of two-site battle that's been happening. Now, I've been telling you for years and years and years, the best place to get your online or offline real estate information is from a local professional. So I don't care if it's Bob's website or Susie's website or social media profile or whatever, we are confident that the best resource for you locally is toddtremonteteam.com. It's DallasHomeRealty.com. It's MyFortWorthMLS.com. All those go to the same place. The reason for that is that's updated every 15 minutes. Even if there's nothing new to update, it's drawing a new feed from the local MLS database that is accurate, up to date, every 15 minutes. So you're not going to get a bunch of outdated information, which a lot of times you do on these national portal sites. They're pulling from thousands of local MLSs and, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of realtor inputs on a regular basis. There's, probably 2 million-ish people with real estate licenses. There's 1.5 million-ish realtors, members of the National Association, and they're all entering their listings and their leases and their sales and their buyer's name and seller's name and title company and financed amount and all that stuff accurately and inaccurately into these databases. And then those are all feeding over to these national sites, which no one's really entering anything into. They're pulling from all those other places. Therefore, a lot of times they're behind or they're out of date or they just have inaccurate information, or they have a different goal. And this is the big one. They have a different goal than your local real estate agent or broker or friend or team or whatever. Their goal is not to help you buy and sell a house and advocate for you and be a member of the community and contribute. Their goal is to sell data or leads or sell traffic or access or eyeballs. That's not wrong. That's not criminal, but it's not consumer focused. It's not about, hey, I want my friends and my neighbors and my clients who are buying and selling and leasing to have the best experience and the best value. They're just in a different business. It doesn't make them horrible people or horrible entities, but you just need to know what's going on. So Homes has announced that they are going to spend more money on a marketing campaign than anyone has ever spent in the history of housing. Good luck. They're owned by a parent company that wants to compete in the wake of a lot of upheaval in the real estate market, the residential real estate market, and they believe they'll be able to gain some market share and become the most popular place for people to go and search homes. I do not recommend that you do that. I recommend that you use a local real estate professional's website. Obviously, I think ours is the best. DallasHomeRealty.com, ToddTremonteTeam.com, MyFortWorthMLS.com. They all go to the same place. So use this one.
ToddTremonteTeam.com.
But if you already have a real estate agent or a broker that you trust and they've done a world-class job for you, use their local real estate website. Use them. Talk to them. You don't want to go to a big national portal site for the most accurate information. Sometimes they have a feature or a function that you like better. That's fine. Do whatever you need to do. But ultimately, you want to end up back on a local real estate agent's website. I think you should start and stop there so you don't end up getting calls from 47 agents that big national portal site has sold your phone number to and all that kind of stuff. That's my 2 cents about it. I don't blame them. By the way, they also own apartments.com and a couple of other big national. So they really, I think, did 7 Super Bowl ads as a parent company, which cost them somewhere in the ballpark of $30 million. They've committed to spend almost $1 billion this year just in advertising campaigns. So you're going to continue to see those ads way past the Super Bowl. I don't think they do what they want you to think they do. They're not horrible people, but I want you, for your benefit, to work with a local agent and use their local site. I recommend ours at
ToddTremonteTeam.com.
If you have not shopped your home insurance, auto insurance recently, definitely reach out to DP Lambert and his team over at Goosehead Insurance. You can email dp.lambert, Lambert, at goosehead.com, dp.lambert@goosehead.com. 214-614-8595 is his phone number. Probably not going to remember his phone number, so you can go to toddtremonteteam.com where you can click the radio tab and you can find the contact information for all of our recommended pros and vendors right there.
We updated some stuff with DP this week. We didn't necessarily want to, but we ended up needing to buy a new car and selling our old car. So I bought a new car. I texted him a VIN number and just said, hey, can you add this one to the policy? I kid you not, like 6 minutes max later, he's like, yep, here's how your premium's going to change. I said, don't take the old one off yet. I'll let you know when we're ready to do that. A few days later, we sold that. I said, hey, you can pull that one off. He said, no problem, effective immediately. And then I got the email from his team. This is your new premium. You now only owe this amount. It was It was surprising, actually, the difference. It was not as much as I thought it was going to be. He said, "Yep, we were able to shop that and renegotiate the whole thing for you. Here's your new cards." I mean, just simple, 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 simple. What I love about DP is that he is my expert. I don't really care what carrier he shops me with or who's actually providing the insurance, because I trust him to shop it and get me the best price, but also the best coverage. And it can change every year or every time we buy a vehicle or move houses. dp.lambert@goosehead.com.
I have a really, really annoying headline for you that got sent to me.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your seatbelt on. DFW housing market looks healthier, but 2024 could be another turbulent year.
What?
And I just read through the article, and I'm like, I feel as though right now the market is as healthy as it's been in a year and a half, right? There's actual optimism for sellers, for buyers. Interest rates have come down a little bit. Like people are doing more. They're a little bit more optimistic. And this article is like, yeah, but it's still like not a whole lot of inventory, and it's still this and it's still that. And I'm just like, man, like let's try and get some like positivity out there.
Yeah. Well, let me say two things.
They're basically the article is basically saying like until we have more inventory, nothing is really gonna change. But by just having an article of like pessimism, like that's not gonna change anything either.
Well, two things. Number one, health of a market and good for me personally are not always the exact same things, right? So a healthy market has reasonable supply, reasonable demand, some back and forth between buyers and sellers, availability of borrowing, right? That's a healthy market where things are making sense. No one's necessarily being taken advantage of or, steamrolled. On the other hand, people just want what they want, right? So buyers want cheap interest rates and cheap houses, and sellers want high prices when they sell, but low prices when they buy. People want what they want. So on the one hand, it's a bit hard to ever call a market like this is a good one. I like this one, right? Because we all want to bend it to our will. On the other hand, that's not why these articles are written. And so to your point, the article is not written to encourage you or to equip you to do anything. It's written to get attention.
Yep.
Therefore, they're both written for the extreme attention-seeking piece and not to really say much of anything. So a lot of these articles right now say, looking like a better year, but also could not be a great year. Well, what does that mean? What does that do what's the point of writing that, right? Someone needed to write something. And I'm not even upset with them. It's like we just talked about on those big portal sites. They have a different motivation than a local expert who's advocating for you, who has a responsibility to you and cares for you. It's just a totally different deal.
Like one of the quotes in here is, housing inventory has improved in DFW over the last year, but will continue to be tight in 2024.
Yeah, and there's always the but, and usually it's like, but also the opposite could be true. And again, I'm not here just to yell fake news and complain about the media all the time. But the reason we talk about it so much is because these are the things that are driving a lot of buyers and sellers and homeowners and renters' decisions. And they're not always accurate and helpful information. A lot of times they're accurate data with an inaccurate interpretation, and sometimes it's not even an accurate read on the data. But all that to say, here's what is happening right now on the ground. There is more optimism on the ground right now for buyers than there has been in quite a while. And sellers are still, as they have been for quite a long time, in a really good seller's market. It's not as easy to be a seller today as it was, 2.5 years ago, but it is still a very good time to be a seller. If you're a buyer, it's still tough to be a buyer, but it's better right now than it was a little while back. And I think it's better right now than it's going to be 6 weeks from now. If you're a buyer right now, I've been telling you all year, all 2024, I've been saying, if you can and you're ready, get you a house under contract before spring break. And if you're ready to do that, the buyer's agents on our team have been helping a bunch of people do that lately. You can call us at 214-310-0008. 214-310-0008. See if we can get you a house under contract in the next 30 days.
So they say here, and they're taking this as like the entirety of DFW. So we can obviously give you far more specific numbers based on the city that you're looking at. But across all of DFW, inventory is up almost 10% from November of 2022. This was November 23 to 22.
Yep.
So 10% almost up, and months of inventory at that point was 3.3 months of inventory, meaning that if no new houses came on the market, that's how long the houses that are currently available, that's how much time we would have until we had 0 homes. 3.3. That's not bad.
That's as high as we've seen it in quite a while for more than like 5 minutes.
Do you remember back in 2020 and 2021? It was 0.4, and 0.3.
Yeah. So in that regard, you have almost 10 times the housing inventory that we had 2.5 years ago. Now that's still low. Let's be fair in our assessment. A 10% increase from 3 months is 3.3 months, right? It's like you have another week of inventory. But what that means is there's a little bit more on the market than there was last time we headed into the spring with optimism. If you're a buyer, you're going to have some choices. You're not going to have 10 or 15 choices, but you're probably not going to have to take a house that you're not real fired up about. But the longer you wait in 2024, there's a very good chance you're going to have to compete with other interested buyers for it. We have several clients that are wanting homes in the most desirable neighborhoods right now, and they're seeing multiple offers. They're seeing offers before homes are fully on the market. We're seeing neighbors selling to neighbors in desirable areas because the demand is there. It just is, regardless of what the headlines say. There's optimism, there's eagerness, but there's also a lot of competition, and home values are continuing to rise. We think they're going to shoot up significantly as we move well into spring. I'd get one under contract before spring break if you're a buyer, and you can start all that with us right now at
TouchMoneyTeam.com.
Yeah, there was another article that I had sent to me that was talking about, will the housing market, quote, recover? And I'm thinking, define that.
Yeah.
Right? What does recover mean? Do you want it to be?
It means you really, really wanted it to be a crash the last couple of years. You really wanted to call the last couple of years a devastating disaster, and it wasn't. Earlier, you used the term healthy, and the truth is the market's been somewhat healthy for the last couple of years. It hasn't been a lot of fun, but just because interest rates go up doesn't necessarily mean the market is unhealthy. It makes sense that when it's more expensive to borrow and buy a house, that less people will do that. That's not necessarily unhealthy. You could argue that it was most unhealthy when people were over borrowing and overspending because debt was really cheap. I'm not going to ridicule anybody for doing that. The point I'm making is the market's in a good place right now. If you're buying, it's a good time to buy as long as you don't overspend. And if you're selling, it's a good time to sell as long as you don't believe some of the negativity in the market and undersell your property. But right now is a time that you could buy at a reasonable fair value without getting steamrolled and having to compete with 55 people, and also sell at the right place. So you could sell and buy right now reasonably measured without, the impulse and insanity of the marketplace. And that's not going to last a lot longer.
We can share this now because it's all closed, right? Gibson on our team recently sold his house, used us, obviously, and we sold his house for over the market average for what his neighborhood was.
Immediately.
First weekend. And then we were able to turn around and get a home under contract for less than the average.
Tens of thousands less. Yeah.
Like it can be done.
It's a great time. If you're selling and buying, call us right now, 214-310-0008. What we'll do is we'll get you with a marketing specialist on the selling side and a separate buyer specialist on the buying side. And you'll have both of those people working together as well as our staff to help you buy and sell. Marry those two transactions together, but also treat them separately as they are, requiring very different skill sets and systems and technology and marketing and negotiation abilities. So you have an expert on both sides working together. It's like going to court, instead of representing yourself, you've got a great attorney. Instead of having a great attorney, you have an entire legal team behind you. That's what this looks like. You have a marketing specialist on the sales side, a buyer specialist on the buy side, working together every single day with a full-time staff behind them with technology and strategy and systems so that you can win big, selling high, buying a little low, and getting a great deal timing-wise, experience-wise, and financially in between. Go to toddtremonti.team.com or call or text right now, 214-310-0008, and we'll help you sell and buy and take maximum benefit of the 2024 market here in DFW.
It's about super home warranty. Think of it like this. You move into your new house, and that first year something goes wrong, and you don't know what to do. You don't know
I don't know the history of all that
You don't
stuff.
know any of it. Maybe you moved to like the new city. You don't know who to call, who's local, who's not. Call a home warranty company, have a home warranty. They can take care of all of it for you. That's what super home warranty are there for. You can go to hellosuper.com. It doesn't matter if it's your first year. If you a lot of people have it year over year over year. Hellosuper.com, you can find out all the different plans that they offer, what they cover, what they don't cover, but they will lay it all out for you. You can reach out to them, contact them. Christine's been our rep for years. She's awesome. Hellosuper.com. It's who all of our buyers, we try and get all of our buyers to use, and it's who all of our sellers get as well before they go on the market to make sure the home is protected before it goes under contract. Hellosuper.com.
Yeah, I was talking to Parker Keene the other day, one of the owners over at Keene Landscaping, about my yard, because I start thinking now about enjoying the spring and early summer when it's reasonable and enjoyable to be outside. And so we were talking about some leveling in my yard and some stonework and things. And I just said, hey, what do you want people to know right now in February about their real estate? And he basically said, look, most people wait too late for that spring cleanup and they don't get to enjoy it as much. And the heat of the summer kind of blindsides them, right? So if you want to enjoy your backyard, outdoor patio space, grill area, pool area, deck area, beds, all those things, now is the time to get that stuff in order, to get things planted, to get things cleaned out, to get it planned, potentially to get an order in, maybe get some pathways or those kind of things done, whether it's landscape design, construction, maintenance, retaining walls, irrigation, tree work, flowers, mowing, any of those things. 972-424-4851 or KeeneLandscaping.com. That's Keane, KeeneLandscaping.com. He told me that you can just ask for him. Just ask for Parker Keene and tell him Todd Tremonti sent you.
If you haven't checked your home valuation recently, go to toddtremontiteam.com, click on the home valuation tab, and in less than a minute, you'll be able to find out what your home would sell for, what it would rent for. You can reach out for a cash offer. You can see about equity. There's so many tools and resources that you're going to be able to get from there in less than 1 minute. Go to toddtremontiteam.com and click the home valuation tab.
Yeah, if you've been with us most of the way through the show, we're just talking about what an incredible opportunity it is right now to be selling and buying, right? Whether you want to buy first or sell first, doesn't matter to us. Whatever's better for you, we can help you navigate that. But if you're in the situation where you're selling and buying, there's a window for about the next 30 days that we believe will be your best opportunity for this year. Now, you'll have opportunity after that. We can create a custom strategy for you at any time in any market. That strategy needs to adjust to the market. But right now, if you're selling and buying, there's a real opportunity, especially on the buy side, before spring break, to have a contract worked out before spring break. So reach out to us. We can help you get that done right now. We'll get you connected with a full-time, fully dedicated, world-class real estate professional right here on the Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team. It's 214-310-0008. That's 214-310-0008.
Find out what your home would sell for right now in under a minute at toddtremontiteam.com.
You are listening to DFW Real Estate Weekly. We do this show every week. We're here every single Saturday. Also over on the podcast, though, just in case you ever miss something, but not only if you miss one of the weekly radio shows, but also some bonus episodes over there. Some really cool stuff about different areas in town, different property types, lots of extra goodies on Homes on Land. If you or anybody you know is thinking about maybe a big half-acre lot, acre, 2, 3, 4, something like that, half an acre to 5 acres in that range-ish, we want to talk to you. We absolutely love helping people buy and sell those properties. We specialize. We have the info you need when it comes to access and fencing and wells and irrigation and land and planting and growing and animals and all the things related to those property types. Just go to toddtremontiteam.com. We'll get you squared away.
This first segment, as always, brought to you by Patrick Leros, his entire team over at Cardinal Financial. If you're looking to get a mortgage, refinance, maybe get an investment property, a great place to start after you've obviously called us, right?
Clearly.
patrickgleros.com, where you can actually begin your application right there on his website. 972-728-3420, patrickgleros.com, Glaros, patrickgleros.com, NMLS number 308804. Let's talk about land.
Let's talk about land, baby.
What are some of the key things people should know when preparing to buy land? And I'm talking about like undeveloped land where maybe they're wanting to build a home on. So like raw land type stuff.
The number one thing, and we have a couple clients right now that are looking in like the Lucas area for this exact thing. The number one thing is you need to know what is allowed on that land. I mean, you could argue the number one thing is location and price and obvious, restrictions that you want, don't want, can afford, can't afford. But after that, you want to know, is this land zoned for residential? Is it zoned at all? Is it zoned for commercial or industrial? If it's residential, is it single family or is it multifamily? If it's multifamily, what's the density? I mean, there's a lot going on there, but let's just say that it's single family land and you're buying it to build a home, which is what we help people do. And you're now wondering, well, how high can I go? How wide can I go? How far off the road can I go? That's the type of stuff you would want to know before you buy something, even if you're not intending to build on it until later. Codes change, plans change. There are reasons that you would potentially accelerate getting, say, planning approval, even if you aren't going to build till later, based on those codes and allowances and overlays and lots of things like that. So that's where I would start.
So I had another article that was sent to me, and it's 7 useful things to know before buying land. It was actually pretty useful. It was actually
imagine that
surprisingly useful. But I want to run through them. I want to get your thoughts on most of these 7 things. So It says the first one was like know what to look out for in raw land. Some of the key things that they talk about is the ground solid enough to accommodate your buildings that you want to build.
And in our area, there's some floodplain issues. We have a video on the YouTube channel that people really liked about buying land in floodplain to save money. There's pros and cons to that. But we have clay soil, so that's important. You want to check out if you can build and if it'll hold what you want to put on it.
Another one is water accessible via a well or via the city.
Yep. So I talk about that almost every single time we talk about homes on land, because depending on where you're buying acreage property, it is likely, if it's a little further out, to be on a well. Not everybody knows exactly what that means, but you could have a well and that's your only source of water, or you could have city water and a well, or you might have only city water. Some areas allow rain catchment and other things for water. Many other areas don't. So yes, I do think that's a key element as well.
They talk about zoning issues, and we already talked about that.
Yep.
Another one is there going to be road access? Can you get large equipment that you need onto the property?
Well, and you heard me a minute ago say access too. I talk about that every time as well, because sometimes, especially in outer-lying areas, you might be buying land that is attached to someone else's or might be interior of someone else's. So we call it ingress and egress, basically access to get on and get off of your property. If it requires you to access someone else's property, I would be cautious. Doesn't mean I wouldn't do it, but I'd be very cautious about who else influences your access to your property. But also, to your point, access for heavy equipment. If you wanted to put a pool in later, could you get a concrete truck back there? If you wanted to change power or solar or build another structure, can you get around one and behind it to the other? That's a good point. So I'm liking the list so far.
So that was all under number 1. That was all under what to know about raw land. So the second thing they talk about is that you should prepare for a trickier loan process. And what they mean by that is it's generally speaking not somebody's primary place they're going to be living, because
there's nothing
in this
there
case
yet.
there's nothing there to live in.
Yep.
So you're going to have to put down more of a down payment. So you need to have more liquid assets available to you.
Yep.
And it's going to be because there's more risk.
Yeah, it's also harder to value, by the way. So the value fluctuations on raw land tends to be not to the liking of the borrower, because occasionally the value won't come in where they need it, because they're not seeing it the same way as you. You're seeing it with all your likes and dislikes of what it's going to be in the future. They're valuing it for what it's worth today. Now, sometimes the home building and land buying process are somewhat combined. And so you do have some opportunities to borrow a percentage of what it will be in the future, but you're also committing to building in the short term. And not everybody does that when they buy land. For example, we have some clients right now buying a home and buying some land. So this is a home for now, and they're going to buy land now to build on later, and then they'll sell that home or keep it as a rental. So you're thinking of the land differently than the bank or the lender. So yeah, I like that as well.
This one makes perfect sense. You should plan for a long turnaround time on your investment.
For sure, especially if you're building just to sell, like a speculative home build. It's just, I hate to sound pessimistic, but it just always takes longer. There's so many variables to building a house.
Yeah, the next two we're not going to spend any time on. Prepare for additional expenses, factor in taxes, things like that.
Logical stuff.
The next one, number 6, was look out for easements on your property. So I'd love for you to explain what that means to people, because there's probably a lot of people out there going, I don't know what the heck that is. What the heck's an easement?
So an easement is basically where someone else has access to your property. So it could be an electrical easement. It could be like let's say there's a gas line running across your property. And so the utility or the company that manages that gas line can come onto your property and manage that gas line whenever they want. And so you need to know, let's say you have 5 acres, on the edge of town, your house is set back, but a gas line runs across the front. You might look out one day and the gas company's out there digging a big hole in the ground. That's because they have to be able to manage that gas line. There are other easements like a building line, or the city might have an easement where they can control a pipeline, a water line, or the road out front, or the power line above, or lots of those different things. But you might also have a neighbor that has an easement. They can drive on your property to get to their property. So there's all different kinds of easements.
And the easiest, best way to find out about easements is to conduct a title search. Mm-hmm. And that's why having a really good title company is so important, because you need to and you want to know what the easements are that are on the land that you're buying, right? You don't want any surprises to come up. And that's why we would recommend Republic Title. They're one of the leaders in the industry. They're who we fight to get to use every time.
So good.
I had another company this past 2 weeks ago just forgot to put something on the CD.
It sounds like this is just a bit we do.
It's really not.
It's literally when we look down at a contract and we don't see Republic Title on it, we're like, oh, great, buckle up. Here we go.
Brandon closed a property and it couldn't be with Republic Title for various reasons. It was with another title company and there was a fee on there that they just forgot. And Brandon's like, well, I feel like you should be the ones paying that. You forgot to put it on. They're like, no, I don't think so.
The contract says the title company should do it this way. They just don't. And then at the end, they're like, sorry.
But Republic Title do. And so that's why I want you to reach out to Republic Title if you don't have a title company that you would be using. RepublicTitle.com is where you can go. 972-423-8777. ToddTremontiTeam.com. Click that radio tab and you can find out all the information, all the contact stuff for all of our recommended pros and vendors right there. So that's that. The last thing they said is know your rights, prepare accordingly. So we don't need to run on to any more of that particular piece. But just I just thought it was a valuable, actually useful.
Yeah, just to recap, it's a great list, by the way. To recap, what we're talking about is when you're buying raw land. So we help people more often buy a home that is already existing on land, right? So probably 8 times out of 10 when somebody comes to us and says, hey, yep, we love what you guys do. We want to buy a house on 2 or 3 acres. We want to be within 30 minutes of, town or this job or whatever. Then the hunt, which we love, is to find, the right number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and all that on that type of land. And a lot of that list still applies. But that list was about raw land where you would build a home later or potentially maybe never even build. So those are 2 different processes. If you're looking for more information on the process of buying a home that exists on land, check out our YouTube channel. Just look up my name, Todd Tremonti, on YouTube, and you'll find our YouTube channel. We have a video specifically on that and tons more on buying a home online, buying a home on land, buying a house with a big backyard, just about every single area all across DFW, moving to or from the area, and a bunch of other educational resources. Just go to ToddTremontiTeam.com and click on that videos tab.
What are some of the key things that people need to know that are thinking about getting into the industry? Because we've talked for several weeks now, maybe several months, that we're wanting to hire and bring on, 2 to 4 agents here in the Richardson office or between here in the Richardson office and also our Fort Worth office. So, why would somebody want to get into this industry right now?
Yep.
What are the pros? Are there any cons? And how does somebody combat hesitancy about making a switch?
Yeah, well, let's take it in reverse. Heck yeah, there's some cons, some negatives. One of them being that over 80% of real estate agents don't survive 2 years in our business. And that's been the statistic for my entire career, 20 plus years.
Kind of like the restaurant industry.
Yeah. Consistently over the last 20 plus years that I've been doing this, the statement is most agents don't survive their first renewal, which is 2 years in. And the reality is there's a very low barrier to entry. You can get into the real estate world fairly easily. You can get a license on the internet. It's not free and it's not like a layup, but without a ton of work and a tremendous amount of money, you can get a real estate license. And the way most brokerages work is they'll let anybody work there because you're going to actually pay them a fee to work there. The way we work here at the Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team is you don't pay us any fees, and we invest heavily in every single team member. That's why we're so selective. We have an incredible team. We talked earlier about how people have been on the team, 9 years, 8 years, 8 years, 8 years, 6 years. People stick with us for a long time, staff and agents. And because of that, or the reason for that, is we invest in each other so much. So I think it's a great time to get into the business if you want to be a full-time dedicated professional, dedicated to clients, dedicated to providing world-class value. That's not the norm in our business. Most people know that most agents are part-time. They're nice, thoughtful, kind, well-intentioned people, but they're not world-class experts. They're not constantly committed to learning and growing like maybe a CPA or an attorney or other professionals that you might think of, like an accountant or things like that. Our team members are. So if you want that kind of commitment, you want to work in that way, I think it's a great time to be in the business because buyers and sellers and consumers are wanting that level of expertise like never before. When the market was just a runaway success, we wished people were looking for that kind of success because people got taken advantage of a lot. But right now, when the market's a little bit tougher, people know they need a full-time pro. They know they need an expert with access to other experts and staff and technology and resources and vendors. And so it's a great time to be on a team like ours. It's always a great time to be on a team like ours, but even greater because the consumer is demanding that kind of expertise. So if you're interested in getting into the business and working in that way, reach out to us, 214-310-0008, 214-310-0008, or online at toddtremontiteam.com.
I'm sure you're going to be excited to know what's starting back up next weekend, right?
Well, football's over. Baseball's getting going. Pitchers and catchers
Already
are
reported.
Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah.
not that.
I had a feeling it wasn't that.
Go Yankees, but
I do know, is it NASCAR? F1?
bingo.
Yeah. I got a friend that is going to the Daytona 500.
Testing next week, and then we're back the week after, first weekend of March. Excited. That means
So
we'll be able to
excited.
talk about F1 again on the show.
So just absolutely enthralled.
You've noticed we haven't talked a lot about Middlesbrough recently.
I did notice that.
Yeah, it's not been great.
Google Todd Tremonti and check out over 700 5-star reviews.
Subject change.
All right, here's a question for you. Ready?
Yep.
Let's see if you can get this right, or maybe I'm going to stump you.
Stump Todd.
How many years do you think the typical homeowner stays in their home?
Okay. So I'm gonna answer, but before I do, I'm gonna tell you, never trust this data because
No, you can trust my answer.
the sources of the data on these things are always like we did
This
a survey.
one's accurate.
We did a survey of 12 people, and the National Association of Realtors for years and years and years said 5 to 7 years. I never fully believed that. That number has definitely climbed over the last few years. So I'm gonna say like 8 to 10 years.
13.2.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Oh, no, it's right here. It's in front of me.
Yeah, I'm sure it's right there on
It says answer 13.2.
it's right there on the
years.
internets.
In parentheses, answer ... 13.2 years.
Yeah.
Right here.
The point that I will agree with on whatever random internet source of datum that you just found is it's grown. And so the people have stayed in their houses longer because they're like, I got a 2.75% interest rate and I would like to move and be in that school district for my kids, or I would like to go get one more bedroom, or I'd like to downsize or move out or move in. But I didn't want to move from my 2.75% interest rate to that 7.75% interest rate into a more expensive house. So people held tight. Now we're seeing that loosen up a little bit in 2024, where we're seeing more people enter the market than we did last year, but sellers ready to sell, buyers ready to buy, and obviously folks ready to do both. So I think that number is kind of stabilizing. I don't think it's growing anymore. And I think if the Federal Reserve does what they have promised us they're going to do later in 2024, which is lower the federal funds rate, which doesn't necessarily guarantee that mortgage rates will come down, but indicates they likely might, we will see that loosen up more and people start moving more and more. And so I think we might see that average number come back down. So I'm not vehemently opposed to that number, but I don't think it's that high right now. Maybe in some area, some data set of people that's accurate for, but across the U.S. population, let's call it the middle average price point, I still don't think we're that high.
You can believe that. I'll believe the number that was in front of me.
Listen, Ian believes everything on the internet, folks. So if you wanna dupe him, all you have to do is just like guest post on a rando blog, and he will follow that to a T.
I read earlier that about 70% of people have...
On the internet, you read this?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, just checking.
I mean, where else would I read it? In a book? Nope. 70% of homeowners have an interest rate of 4% or less.
Or less. Yeah. What's interesting, which is that stat I do believe, again, 70 is a really round number, by the way. But
round 70.
But I do believe that. I also believe, it's what we talk about all these hype-riddled headlines, but one of the headlines we were seeing in January is like, get ready, here come the foreclosures. And the reason you're just not seeing runaway foreclosures or short sales or anything is because in the realm of everyone having a 2.75% interest rate or below 4%, not everyone, but tons of people also saw their home values shoot up over the last, say since 2020. Even if the shooting up slowed down a little bit this year or last year, people are sitting on lots of equity. So even if they lost their job or they had to refinance or they got sick, which are all terrible situations, they had a bunch of equity in their home, which means they could sell their home for a lot more than they owed. So even if they had to sell, they weren't selling it to the bank for less than they owed. They weren't just abandoning the house and having it taken from them from the bank. They were sort of being forced to sell and get $50, $60, $80, $100,000 of equity, and then maybe, rent or move in with a friend or downsize or that kind of thing, which is unfortunate, but it's certainly a much more comfortable version of unfortunate than the bank had to come and take your house away.
If you haven't checked your home valuation recently, do so by going to toddtremonti.com, click the home valuation tab, and in less than a minute, you'll be able to find out what your home would sell for, what it would rent for. You can talk about cash offers, you can get information, you can reach out to us, one of the agents on the team, all through the website that it will direct you to, home valuation tab over on the Todd Tremonti home selling team website, toddtremonti.com.
toddtremonti.com, as my son says.
toddtremonti.com.
Hey, listen, we talk about this a lot, and I don't think anybody gets all that fired up about their roof, but it is what it is. It's true that your roof protects your entire house. It's a very, very important part of the property. As we, at least in our heads, head out of out of winter into spring, you need to be sure that ice, hail, sleet, snow, high winds, heavy rain, which we're heading into more and more heavy rain, that your roof is in good shape, because we're heading into the heavy rains of springtime and the blistering heat of summer. And you don't want to find out later that some little crack and some sealant or one or two shingles turned into sheetrock falling down and your attic generating mold and just terrible things happening in your house. So here's what I recommend. Have a great roofer that you trust. Check your roof out at least every 2 years or after anything that you think could have caused some damage. I recommend PMRroofing.com. PMR Roofing. Ask for Jordan Collins, PMRroofing.com, or you can call him at 469-409-ROOF, 469-409-ROOF, or PMRroofing.com. If you ever forget any of the people that we introduce you to on the show or that we interview on the show or we talk about using, you just go to toddtremontiteam.com, click on the radio tab. We've got all that information for you right there. Check it out, toddtremontiteam.com. Click that radio tab. If you got a question or you need anything related to your real estate, I'm telling you, this phone number should be in your cell phone. You don't have to go looking anybody up. If you have a question about an add-on or remodeling or a vendor or selling or buying, of course, just text us or call us at 214-310-0008. That's 214-310-0008, or you can always find us online at
touchyourmoneyteam.com.
if you ever need anything, let us know. Now, if you're thinking about making a move in 2024, I've been saying it since beginning of January. If you're a buyer, I personally believe, my assessment of the data, and we have a pretty darn good track record at looking out and making near-term future forecasts in the market. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home in 2024, I would ideally want to have got my house under contract before spring break. That means in the next 30 days or less. If you're thinking about selling, I would want to sell before the end of July, before back to school. If you're selling and buying, I would want to get the contract part of that stuff done before the end of spring break. Now, if that just panicked you, don't let it. You'll be fine the rest of the year. But those are the ideal times to maximize on the existing market conditions, as well as what we believe will be happening based on reliable data and 20 plus years of experience in this market. You're hearing a lot of ads from a lot of agents and a lot of brokers. Most of them are not from here. They're based in Atlanta or Austin or worse, meaning farther. We have built our 7-step proprietary marketing system for houses only in DFW only, and we know what we're talking about. If you have questions or you want to sell or you want to buy this year, give us a call or text us, 214-310-0008. Save that in your phone, 214-310-0008. Or
Google Todd Tremonti and check out over 700 5-star reviews.